Hello everyone, welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to be doing something unusual as always, because I can't keep a single format on this channel. Here we have my granddad's Acer Aspire T136 T97Z. And that's not really what it says on there, because this PC has been upgraded. And in fact, this thing has a H81, I believe, is the platform. I can't remember, but it has an Intel Pentium CPU and a pretty recent board, as you can tell by the USB 3 ports. Because, yeah, and the reason we are looking at this machine today is because of this device here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Alright, as you can tell, this PC has been upgraded. This certainly is not a Sempron. These are 8 gigs of RAM, not 512 megs. And yeah, I recently cleaned the system out because I wanted to upgrade the board and replace it with, I have it in here across the room, a nice socket 1155, I believe, motherboard. Get this thing out of the way. With an Intel Core i5 7400, once again 8 gigs of RAM. And yeah, the problem is that first of all, this needs an 8-pin CPU connection, and this power supply only supplies a 4-pin power supply connection. But the problem is also the power supply itself, because yeah, I'll take this out and I'll show you what I'm talking about again. Now the specs of this power supply actually check out. Like, we have a nice 19 amps on 12 volts, total maximum power 300 watts, which is fine. But the problem is when you open it up and you look in here. Now that is not something you want to see at the heart of your computer. It is on the secondary, so it's probably not too big of a deal. But then we have another one in there, which is crooked already, and that one's leaking as well. There's another one in here, that one's also bulging. And thankfully that's it. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to attempt to recap this, because the power supply is working fine at the moment. We'll see if I have some spare components to replace these with. But you can clearly tell that this is an old design. In fact, there's an HP part number on here. And if we spin the thing around, we'll see that this is still using the ancient twin capacitor on the primary side, 200 volt, 680 microfarad from L-Tech, whatever brand that is. Fan is probably the best part of this. It's an ADA, which is a pretty good brand. Light-on branded transformers. Like, this is not bad. Heat sinks are pretty beefy, considering, you know, the power output we got. And a passive PFC, which definitely dates this thing to like 10-15 years ago at least, because, I mean, yeah, I believe they were like banned. You can't install them anymore. You already have a replacement, and that is this much newer PowerMan unit. And I'll show you the specs. Now, before you say, oh, it's an old power supply, first of all, I got this thing used for 20 bucks. Second of all, we got two 12-volt rails with 216 watts on them, and quite a bit of power on the 3.3 volt rail. To be fair, so this is a group-regulated power supply. So the voltage of one rail depends on the load that's on the other rails and that sort of stuff. This is a sub-brand of InWin. In fact, you'll see a lot of InWin cases come from the factory with PowerMan power supplies. But this is a newer unit. It's the IPS300EQ32. And it's 80 plus certified. I'll pop up the certification on the screen, the specs, if you want to read those a bit better. But this is a much newer platform, probably based on a Great Wall power supply. I'll open this up and show you. Alright, here we go. These are the insides of the power supply. You can clearly tell this is a newer product. It's a bit cheaper in the construction, but it's pretty good the way it's built. We have 3 filter caps, 2 Y class and 1 X class on the directly attached to the power connection. And they're also connected to the ground pin, which is in specs connected here. If we turn this around slightly, sorry for the camera work today, this is a quick video. We can see that there's more filtration components. We got these coils, filtering power. We got another X class, 1, 2, 3 Y class capacitors. Transformers seem adequately fit for a 300 watt power supply, and the capacitors are made by TPO, which is a brand that I've heard of. That is already an upgrade as opposed to the other power supply. I'm trying to figure out what brand these green ones are. I'll whip up a flashlight. Can't actually find a brand on these. That's a TPO as well. And yeah, I think this is just a full TPO or TIAPO, I don't know how you're supposed to say it. Branded power supply. So yeah, not bad at all, considering this is a 300 watt unit. Now we'll install this and hook it up to this old board first. If it works fine, we'll install the other board and boot Windows 10 off of this molasses slow Seagate 1 terabyte drive. Let's go. Now it's working. Should theoretically have entered the BIOS, because if the fan does that, it means it's passed its power on self-test, which it has. Here we go. We're inside of the BIOS. You gotta go into the advanced mode, so F7. (3006 megahertz). It's slightly faster than last time. Why? Alright, monitor. And the voltages are perfect. 12.1, 5.1, and 3.39. Yeah, that's great. I replaced the thermal paste on the CPU. It's pretty cool. And yeah, voltages are pretty nice. So we're gonna go ahead and install the other board, and we'll see what happens. In order to get this cable to reach, I had to rip the light out of the power button, so that no longer exists, but this works. So who cares? And we can set up all the PCI things. Hardware monitor again. Where are my voltages? There we go. They're very good. So I can go back. Windows OS configuration, Windows 7 installation. Support for Windows 8.110, yeah, of course. MSI fast boot, whatever that's supposed to be. Didn't need that. Graphics output protocol, nope. And we can set up the graphics, which only has 32 megs. We'll give it half a gigabyte to work with. Save changes and reboot. If it doesn't work now, there's no way it doesn't work now. Yep, there you go. This hard drive light is going to be on solid, let me tell you that. We're booting, and we'll see how long this takes. Alright, machine's all up and running. It's still pretty slow because of the hard drive, but I'll replace it in a few days with an SSD as soon as it arrives. And as you can tell, hard drive is basically brand new with only 886 hours on it. And I'll now open Task Manager. As you can tell, weirdly enough, the disk isn't pinned at 100%, and you want to know why? Because the card reader acts as disks as well. The disk is mostly all over the place. So, as you can tell, we got our i5-7400, 4 cores, 4 threads, 8 gigs of RAM. Card reader works, I guess. I don't even know. How about we give it a shot? Should have a CF card right here. It's 32 megabyte, but who cares? Alright. Alright, cool. Card is inserted, lights up. See if any of this works. Nope, nope. It's not reading anything. Yep, accidentally bumped the camera onto the desk and that shuts it off. Anyway, yeah. We're not even using a lot of RAM. 2.3 gigs is pretty good. So this is a healthy Windows installation. It's just Windows 10 on a hard drive is a terrible idea. If you like this video, let me know by hitting the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more of this type of stuff. And yeah, catch you guys in the next one.